Welcome everybody to Radpod and Chill. If that opener that Hi-Fi created for us, along with some of the great art of our friend Sean, does not get you in the mood for some Radpod and Chill, I don't know what will. I am obviously doing my nails as usual. It's a
I
super
was feeling
light.
a little rockabilly.
It's a super rockabilly's rad. I just want to make sure that Gen G knows that my daughter now gets me something called what's it called? Death Valley nail polish, and this is "But Do Aliens Believe in Us?" So it's a really cool, sheer, sparkly number. Anyway, I'm very happy to see you guys. I'm really happy to be back stateside. I'm filled with all kinds of stories from the trip to the United Kingdom. I must say, being with you guys virtually for a few days has already made me feel better because in the UK, they're quite scared for America. They see us doing really dumb shit and they're confused by it. And if anybody wants more details, I'll refer you to bettydangerous.com. Look at my Keir Giles interview from a North Hampshire pub, because it'll kind of give you the skinny, and I'll quote from that. But Jim, what's on your mind? I loved your soft coup report today. I certainly quote tweeted the shit out of that.
Yeah, I've been spending my time trying to herd the cats of the uh, nervous white men and the establishment and the god awful feckless corporate media who've been pushing this insane like circular firing squad for a couple weeks now, and yeah, I'm going to have a lot to say about it, but
Great, great,
I'm
great.
not sure. I'm not sure I want to get started on my TED talk on that quite yet because
Okay, we'll
oh boy,
we'll ease into it. We'll ease into
All
it.
right.
we'll
Heidi, I
get
owe you a
we'll get
dollar
there.
because I bet Heidi a dollar that you would at least spend 10 minutes ranting about the Bedwetter massacre. So,
Well,
Yes, I will be ranting about the Bedouin
I'm not paying yet then.
What's
um,
that?
yeah, keep your dollar Hi-Fi. Yeah, so when I saw Clooney's op-ed, I actually heard about it in my byline meeting. I just thought mice. I mean, what else could it be other than, and as you said, Jim, maybe all four ego for sure. But I mean, like, yeah, it's a really great time right before the most important election in American history for since the Civil War. It's a really great time for premium progressives to be dividing up the Democratic Party when we have an incumbent in a great economy, and incumbents always win in a great economy. So we are giving up our power, and we are basically doing what our friend Michael said from Russia Insider. We're essentially doing the Russians' work for them now. Like lemmings, we are marching ourselves off a cliff. And everywhere I go, people are so nervous. And I keep telling them, don't worry, me, Jim, and Hi-Fi are on the case. It's going to be okay. True
Yep,
story.
that's right. Three
True
randos
story.
from the internet are going to say fucking democracy. Fuck you,
True
people.
story.
We're
Along with
doing it.
Jackie Singh and a few of our friends, Gal Squad.
I mean, yeah, Clooney. Um, I mean, first of all, I don't give a fuck what George Clooney thinks, and neither should anybody else, other than the fact that he's influential, and he
Yeah,
genuinely is influential.
yeah,
Um, One of the things that I found out about, I didn't understand a lot of things about Amal Clooney,
yeah.
um, and I'm not alleging that there's influence here, but Amal Clooney wanted to represent Gaddafi's like main henchman. She did represent Julian Assange in his rape trial. And if anybody ever wondered how Julian Assange ended up in the Ecuadorian embassy? That's because Amal Clooney told him to do that. Also, a month ago, George Clooney called the White House because Amal was mad about the policy the White House had on Israel. So, again, I'm not alleging that there's, influence here, but it's fucking weird. And what I can tell you is this, that George Clooney lives on Lake Como in a fucking villa in Italy. I don't need his fucking opinion. Here's the thing. All the people around me have various opinions about the age thing. They do because they've had various exposure to corporate media. But zero of them are confused. Nobody's confused about what needs to be done here. We have a candidate. The thing that really, and the reason why I wrote soft coup as the title of my piece is, listen, there was an election in America, a democratic election, where voters, except in Florida, I'm told, had the opportunity to vote for the Democratic nominee. Moreover, there was an opportunity before the primary, if there were people who had concerns, to put up another candidate. Nobody did that. So I voted, and a whole bunch of other people voted for Joe Biden to be the nominee. What I'm seeing is on every corporate media outlet, all of them, an obsession with this story. And what's important about it is that it really is it's a push story. It is creating its own story. Here's the thing, if the media had stopped, literally 24/7 trying to Hillary Joe Biden after the debate, it would have fucking disappeared. It would have disappeared in a couple days. Everybody would have like, okay, had a cold or whatever. Look, he's on the fucking trail. Everything's fine. Let's go. But instead, a bunch of fucking oligarchs who own these media companies have decided that, oh, this is a good opportunity to make money. Now, how's that? Well, if there's a giant upheaval, right? If there's lots of news about, the crazy business going on in the Democratic Party, and all of a sudden we have a horse race and there's new candidates, that brings them traffic, brings them money, makes them profit. I'll tell you some good news, though. As far as I can tell, the New York Times and the Washington Post and MSNBC and CNN are losing their shit. Their fucking ratings are dropping because nobody wants to fucking hear this. Nobody wants to hear a bunch of whiny, emotional white men pouring out their hopes and dreams. No one gives a fuck. Talk to voters. Voters want to prevent the Fourth Reich. Somebody replied to me and said, I would vote for Joe Biden's left nut. And I immediately quote tweeted him, Joe's left nut 24. Seriously, it doesn't fucking matter. I'll tell you, I'll whisper you a secret. If you actually listen to what Joe Biden is saying, he says, look, I hear you guys, but there's no alternative. he's saying this to people, that there's no viable actual plan. It's not a possible thing to do. He's also said that the minute that I feel like I can't do this job, that'll be something to worry about. Meaning he's aware of these. He's aware of the actual logistics of the thing. He's telling people, look, get me to the fucking finish line.
Yeah.
That's what we must do.
Yeah.
It's very fucking simple.
Yeah.
We all voted for him. Trying to fucking overthrow it is undemocratic and will piss off a lot of voters. Let me tell you what.
I am perfectly comfortable with. Go ahead.
You want to piss off black voters? Take away their fucking franchise. Take away their vote, right? And let your whiny ass, white consultant, decide who we're voting for.
Yeah.
So we have Kamala Harris, one of the most qualified people on planet Earth to be the goddamn president. So I just, like, for me, it is just an exercise in trying to calm down a bunch of very anxious elite pussies. They're just pussies. They're just scared. And just calm down. Calm down. You're embarrassing yourself in the restaurant, okay? You're having a fit. Well, all of us are trying to do grown-up stuff and get this one. We have so much on our side. The last thing we need to do is step on a fucking rake and have a circular firing squad and snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory. 0 people are going to vote for Donald Trump because of Joe Biden's age. 0 people.
Yeah.
Seriously, no people are going to vote for Donald Trump because of Joe Biden's age.
Or the debate.
There are 2, and I'm going to land here. There are 2 constituencies in this race. There's 2. People who do not want to live in a Fourth Reich and people in an authoritarian cult.
Yeah. Right.
There's maybe, a little bit in the middle there. But if you actually look at after the debate numbers, they didn't change at all. 94% of Joe Biden's voters said, I'm just as likely to vote for him after this. 86% of Donald Trump's said it. So we're literally in cult members versus normies. And all that matters is that we focus on winning, on getting our guy over the line, not smearing him to everybody under the sun because of your feelings. Your emotions don't matter. I don't care. No, neither does anybody else. We don't want to know how you're feeling. We don't want to know your hopes and dreams. We want you to shut the fuck up and get out of Joe's way.
And if they do not, thank you very much for that, Jim. I'm hearing an echo, so can you kill that? Thank you very much, Jim. That was super powerful. And if they do not get out of our way and the way of democracy and the way of, as Hi-Fi would say, 1,000 years of darkness, and they continue down this path, then I will recognize that as my money, ideology, compromatter, ego, or a variation of all 4. For example, Rob Reiner, who continues to flog this, wrong-headed horse, just produced a film, about Christian nationalism. He should know what the stakes are. He should be well fucking aware of what the stakes are. And if he thinks that an incumbent in a good economy is a losing proposition, and an incumbent who has a perfectly brilliant vice president that he can hand the keys over should he need to, and he continues to do that, then I have to wonder at what the fuck. And again, it could just be ego. He may think that, the sun and the moon and the stars, rises around his intellect. But I am concerned if they do not, by say the end or middle of next week, if they don't cease and desist and stop trying to divide the Democratic Party, who are actually very happy with the way democracy has been functioning under Joe Biden, who, by the way, is a fucking legend in his own time. He's very bad at selling himself. That's not what he's about. He's very good at doing democracy.
It's kind of funny to me that both of you were talking about Joe Biden, because it just shows me how the whole thing works, right? They put us on the back foot. They make us defensive. We're defending. No. Joe Biden's fucking cool by me. Here's the problem. Donald Trump is a rapist who attempted a coup. Okay? I don't care what you have to say. Oh, Joe Biden's old. Donald Trump is a rapist who attempted to coup. Well, George Clooney says the thing about George Clooney is that Donald Trump is a rapist who attempted a coup. It's very fucking simple. The man is a felon 34 fucking times. We just watched him get his marching orders from Orban in Mar-a-Lago. We watched him sit in a plane next to some sanctioned Russian diplomat in the UAE. We know what Donald Trump is. Why are we talking about Joe Biden? Joe Biden's cool by me.
Yeah.
Again, I'm a single issue voter, and that single issue is Donald Trump's people will murder me if he gets in power. And that kind of goes for everyone on this fucking screen right now. So
yeah, they will absolutely put people in prison. If you look at Project 2025 and listen to the actual rhetoric out there around it, look at the people who will actually be in the administration. It is unmistakably the beginning of a Reich. It is the beginning of a death cult running the country.
Yeah.
Literally a death cult running the country. I saw recently one of the scariest things I've seen, which was Mike Flynn on his podcast with this pastor, literally describing a plan for eliminating gay people.
Yeah.
It was nothing short of that. The guy was talking about how Lot and Sodom and Gomorrah and how God wiped it out, and claiming that was because they were gay, and that he was protecting the purity of the race for this Messiah. And you literally use that word.
Can I ask you, Jim? Sorry to interrupt. Who talks about that stuff who isn't projecting? I've never heard anybody talk about that stuff who isn't projecting. Nobody normal talks about that stuff.
Look, there's a lot of not everybody who's homophobic is gay, but there is certainly a lot of that. I don't know. I don't really care whether they're gay or not. What I care about is they're literally spreading a plan to eliminate gay people. And I mean that, like, they want to eliminate, they want to bring back sodomy laws, anti-sodomy laws. They want to make it illegal for gay people to exist. They want to disincentivize anybody gay financially. They want to, legally oppress them. Yeah. Openly, they're saying this. And the reason is, according to Mike Flynn, because if we don't take care of the demographics, they're going to take over. Literally, he literally is putting it out there that the gay people are going to take over. It's gay replacement theory.
Oh, wow. That's a whole
That's literally what it is. They're like, the gay people are going to come and take over the world. It's absolutely horrific, and it's exactly what the Nazis did. In 1932,
Speaking of gay.
Speaking of gay, in 1932, Franz von Papen, a Catholic priest.
Stop it.
He was a Catholic priest, and he was the Chancellor of Germany in 1932. Okay. Also, and this is important, a Knight of Malta. Interestingly, Franz von Papen, the Chancellor of Germany, Knight of Malta, spoke to the OSS during World War II to negotiate to be the dictator of post-Hitler Germany. Now, if anybody knows about the OSS, it was founded by a guy named Jack Singlaw.
Oh, he always returns.
Who's Mike Flynn's mentor and handed over Mike Flynn's his nonprofit to Mike Flynn when he was almost 100 years old. FDR heard about this discussion between the OSS, presumably Jack Singlaw, and the Nazi, the guy who literally helped Hitler become Hitler. FDR was like, what the fuck are you talking to this Nazi for? Stop. Which is part of the reason the OSS didn't work out. So what I'm trying to say is that this strain of anti-LGBTQ, anti-Jew, anti-people of any color.
Yeah. Yeah.
This has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
And it comes from the same strain of Christian lunatics.
Yeah.
We need to recognize it and just forget about all this other dumb shit and realize there's nothing neo about these Nazis.
Yeah.
Really. There's
I know
neo about this. It's literally just the same fucking people.
Yeah.
Down the line who've been doing it since, the Nazis were the Nazis.
So I'm glad that you brought that point up. Thank you for that there's nothing neo about these Nazis. Because as Hi-Fi just said, this is fascism, right? I think it's also really important in 2024, when we've been in a hot war for 10 years, to stop minimizing our war by saying hybrid, active measures, disinformation. I do it all the time, but I think it's really time, and this is why we wrote our open letter to Joe Biden and we wrote that speech. I think it's really time that we just call it war. Russia is always at war with the West. Russia's army, as we know, is shit. And so what they are waging and spending billions on is using technology to wage this war. As Jim has said, carpet bombing people's minds with digital poison. And so I think that it's time that we just call it war, because maybe that will wake enough people up before the actual bombs start dropping on their heads. Because we've been at war, we're a target nation of war. It's simply that the bombs and the bullets look different than they do in a kinetic war, than they do in Ukraine, which very much understands that we are at war, that we have been, targeted by Russia for a very long time. And of course, enabled by all of the useful idiots in America, which we are going to talk about when we start showing some of our Craig Unger interview clips. Radpod just did an amazing interview with the amazing Craig Unger. And I'm super excited to talk about that. But Jim, can you comment on the war terminology, please?
Hold on. My turn first. Sorry. Because guess what? There is well, if y'all remember Facebook and Cambridge Analytica and Palantir helping steal data, guess what? Meta is putting Trump back online, right? Now, who knows what that means for Truth Social, but it does show us that once again, Mark Zuckerberg, the man who built this data psyops cannon, he's just a product.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
I'd say 10 out of 10. What do you think, Jim?
Oh, 6. I was waiting for it the whole time.
Oh, man. No, I thought he built up.
I was like, Facebook. Okay, here we go. When's he going to get there?
Okay, well.
Get there? But he did.
Well, yeah, because as soon as you go to Facebook, you go to Peter Thiel.
No, that's where it started. It's a fine point, and I gave it a 6. It was fine, but it wasn't that. It didn't give me that moment because I was waiting for it.
Okay, I wasn't, and I thought the timing was perfect. But I will say that goes back to my original point, because who funded Facebook? Russian bagman. So who were the original funders? Russians. So it's like, again, so thank you for that point, High Fidelity. But Jim, you chime in, please.
Yes, I agree with you. And when the first articles I wrote on my Substack was called World War III started in 2015 when Mike Flynn went to Russia and sat down with Putin and the head of RT. And from that point forward, it has been war on the United States. Russia has always been in a sort of asymmetric war with the United States. But when you start overthrowing another country's elections, you're in a different world. That is an act of war, in my opinion. You're literally changing the history of that country. But that to me, that's worse than something like Pearl Harbor.
Wow.
Because you're changing everything about the country to benefit yourself against the will of the people. And so yes, I agree with you. It is war. It is full-fledged war. However, I think it is also very important to use other phrases, more descriptive phrases, psychological war, cognitive war, active measures. Those are all important words because those are words that are used by the adversaries.
Right.
What I don't like is when we use euphemisms that are designed to cover up for things, like conspiracy theory. Like QAnon is a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
No, it's not. No, absolutely not. It has infinite thousands, hundreds of thousands of stories of conspiracy theories. That has nothing to do with what it is, how it works, what the purpose of it is. It's just not in any way descriptive.
Right.
What it's designed to do is to minimize the impact of it and make it just seem like a kooky thing.
Yeah.
So those are the things that I object to. If people want to use hybrid war, that's a good word. Hybrid war means a combination of soft and hard tactics, right? So J6 versus the big lie.
Right.
That's literally hybrid war in a nutshell. Like the attempt to overthrow the government, big lie, was psychological warfare. What they were doing inside the government to try and use the levers of power, those are active measures, also important. And then on January 6th, they literally used terrorism, insurgency,
yes,
and insurrection. And so to me, it's a very descriptive, useful term to say it's a hybrid war, So, your point is well taken. I just want to distinguish between terms that are actually useful and constructive because they're used by people in the real world versus things that are euphemisms designed.
Yeah, well, sowing. The Russians sowed and meddled and sowed in our election, which in my 2016 series, greatest
friendly. He's so
greatest.
friendly. He's so friendly.
Cute little troll. Cute little troll sewed and meddled. So I have something I want to say. In reading the Mueller report, I realized that we did not even have laws to address the gravity of the crimes. They would literally refer to like personal property theft laws, which were so minuscule compared to what we just discussed, which was overthrowing an election to change and alter the course of US history. So our laws were not up to modern cyber standards. But when I met with Keir Giles at a pub in the UK, because it was so fun, I keep saying that because I got to see people like Sean Norris and a bunch of wonderful folks. He said that the reason that he believes the Labour election, in the UK, they just had an election and Labour won after, like 15 years, of conservative rule. And he basically said that they anticipated Russia getting involved and stirring up trouble as they do. He said the difference is they have changed their laws and they've protected their electoral integrity and their democratic processes from foreign interference with the National Security Act in the UK, which fills the gap that was left in legislation, which meant it was previously perfectly legal to act as the agent of a hostile power against its country, and now it isn't, and people have been prosecuted for working for Russia, and it's had a chilling effect. And the most notable place that it had the chilling effect was with those who traffic the information, the stolen goods, the hacked materials. The traffickers are actually being prosecuted. So before, you'd have the hack, forge, dump attacks, and then it would be trafficked, like in the case of 2016, when WikiLeaks trafficked stolen goods from Russian military intelligence. So basically, he thinks that there may have actually been more of a hesitation because those who actually do the trafficking could go to prison. And I bring that up because we still have no laws here to protect us from what happened in 2016. And we've had 8 years to ponder it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the polling for Brexit, right, it's really quite incredible. After Cambridge stopped their, running their psyops about, all the scary immigrants coming in, all of a sudden, what happened is the sanity, and I'm sure this law helped, because absolutely, like right now, there is zero, absolutely no consequences at all for people running enormous Russian propaganda operations. Not just, and I'm not even talking about Flynn and Q. I mean, Russian. Anybody remember Sarah Bills? Remember Sarah Bills? She published Jack Teixeira's stolen classified documents that he got when he was, in the army, and he was a Nazi, and he had a Nazi Discord, and somehow Sarah Bills from the Navy got a hold of it and published it as Donbass Devushka a year ago. Now, in the interim, not only has Sarah Bills not been picked up for posting stolen classified fucking documents on Telegram, her business is booming. It's booming. She's got 1 million+ followers on her fucking Twitter and her Telegram going crazy. And what is it? It's fucking literally GRU propaganda. It is literal military Russian propaganda. And there's no consequence at all. The only consequence, however,
this is the punchline.
She announced that she was planning, that she's moving somewhere. So I'm guessing that she's going to go there and join her up with Snowden and
shout out to Tara Reid.
Yeah.
Reid. They're gonna have Rudy. They got BFFs, and they're gonna have sleepovers.
Got Scott Ritter moving there. Snowden lives there.
I wouldn't have a sleepover with Scott Ritter.
Tara Reid lives there.
Scott Ritter.
Hey,
Doug
guys,
better move there.
Eileen's calling. I'm just going to put her on the show for just 1 second. Eileen, you're on speakerphone and you're live on RadPod because we're actually filming right now. Do you want to just say hello to everybody?
Hi, Eileen.
Everybody, and this is a horrible time for me to call.
Hi,
we love you. We're going to call you back in about 25 minutes. You're live on RadPod. We love you so much. She's hard to get a hold of these days. So anyway,
she's our first caller.
I know. First, long-time listener, first caller. So I think that it's likely that she'll be operating out of Moscow because at some point they kind of like weigh their options. Like, we know what we're doing is illegal. U.S. is not prosecuting it yet, but maybe under, if democratic governance continues and we can do something about we can replace some of the feckless bureaucrats that are, just like I told you guys in that Barnaby Jones episode where the Department of Justice was afraid to prosecute the senator, the treasonous general, as well as afraid to prosecute the oligarch who was cutting the uranium deal, selling uranium to our enemies illegally. I think we have a little bit of that going on now. A little bit, Actually, no. This is perfect. Go ahead, Jim.
Hold on. Wait 1 second, because I think this is the perfect time for Craig Unger.
Yeah, because Craig, we talked about that. You're just now suddenly being discovered by more of a mainstream audience. Like suddenly it's like you just sort of, arrived on the scene. And why do you think it is when you've been doing this work this whole time?
Right. My work has always been on the margins. That is, I think I have all the standards of a real professional journalist. I've been written for the New Yorker, the New York Times, Esquire, Vanity Fair for more than 50 years. And I published with the 3 biggest publishing houses in the country. And 3 of my books have actually been bestsellers. But you know what? When it comes to some of the allegations I make in the New York Times and other publications really shy away from them. And now we have Trump running once again, of course. And I've done 2 books on him, both making serious charges about him in Russia. One is how he laundered money for the Russian mafia, and I go into great detail on that. Another is how he was recruited as an asset by the KGB. This dates back to 1980. And again, both of those books made the New York Times bestseller list, but the New York Times refused to cover them in any way. Didn't review them, didn't write anything about it. And you don't find those allegations in the mainstream press at all. And I think they should be.
Can I just go off on the New York Times for a second?
Please.
Do it.
Please.
And the Washington Post. I've been subscribed to those papers for fucking decades, and especially the Washington Post. I grew up on that shit. I learned to read doing the jumbles and shit. But it's a fucking shit show. Bezos took over Washington Post, and it is just a both sides fucking nightmare. The New York Times has been an enemy psychological warfare operation. I mean, they've had 2 editorial board freakouts. You know, they did Clooney and all it's been absolutely atrocious. Now, on top of this, worse than that is the open cover-up, and I'm just going to say that word, of certain topics. So anybody remember, no clear link to Russia in 2016?
Yeah.
Well, literally yesterday, the Washington Post published a headline that said, "No link to Epstein, no link to Trump found in latest Epstein documents." I was like, did you read the Epstein documents? Because what the fuck?
Yeah.
So I think here's what I think happened. I think that it was the latest documents that there was nothing in them.
Yeah.
But the ones that were last week that y'all didn't say jack shit about.
Yeah.
The ones last week were the horrendous child rape, horrendous, the worst shit you can fucking imagine, told by the victims, and you didn't say shit about that.
Yeah.
Instead, you picked some other thing, made it a Pinocchio, and said that there was no link. Most people will only see that headline.
Yeah.
And what you did intentionally, because there's absolutely no other reason, intentionally fucking put that in people's heads.
Yeah.
You constantly normalize this shit to make it seem like, oh, don't stop worrying your pretty little head about all these things. Don't worry your pretty head about Russia. We got it. The FBI is going to take care of you. As if the fucking justice system has done justice in Trump Epstein. I want to remind people, Donald Trump fucking hired the guy who allowed Jeffrey Epstein to get away with raping children for years.
Yes.
As his fucking labor secretary.
Yes.
For no reason other than that guy would have oversight into the child trafficking allegations of his fucking former pal, his former partner, his former best friend. So both of these together. 2016. Oh, don't worry, Trump's not really a Russian asset.
Yeah.
Oh, 2024. Don't worry, he's not a fucking pedophile child rapist.
Yeah.
That to me is the sort of essence of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Is that there are a bunch of middlemen, and I say men intentionally, white men, who are running interference for us.
Yeah.
Trying to quell the masses. Give us some opium. Fuck you.
Yeah.
I don't need your opium. I don't need your fucking lies. I don't need your hiding the goddamn truth of the matter or sugarcoating anything or trying to shove something down my throat that I did not fucking vote for.
Yeah.
So all I'm here to say is, look, I am hopeful that one day soon these organizations will get their shit back together, because I support journalism. I've supported mainstream journalism for a long fucking time. But when you are lying to me, when you are lying to my fellow countrymen and trying to disenfranchise them, then fuck you. I'm going to take my money away from you.
I've been doing the same thing gleefully. I've been like, oh, you're on the wrong side of this, so I don't got to support this. So I just want to I want to take you back to the Wayback Machine, because you said a bunch of things, Jim, that I was writing about in 2016. In 2016, on my May West Side Tumblr, LOL, where I fought the revolution for the first few years, I wrote a blog called Ever Feel Like You've Been Cheated? And that blog was about the fact that I read the Jane Doe documents where Trump was accused of raping a 13-year-old. And this was tied in with his association with Epstein, who is a convicted child rapist. And it's very important to note that in New York Magazine, October 2002, okay, Trump said these words about Jeffrey Epstein, his co-defendant on the Jane Doe documents, which are still available if you guys want to read them. Content warning, though. He said, Jeffrey likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side, no doubt about it. From the same guy who talked about women's privates as something that you could just help yourself to. So
also, if you recall the anecdote about him running the Miss Universe pageant, or the teen, teen universe pageant, where he was going backstage. He said, when you're the owner, you can do anything you want.
Yeah.
Meaning you can go look at naked underage girls.
So hold on, Hi-Fi, because I'm not done. And yes, Jim, that was a good note. In this May West Side blog, Ever Feel Like You've Been Cheated? I don't name the CEO who I knew who set me off when I wrote this article, but I'm going to tell you who it is now. It was Andy Puzder. Okay. Andy Puzder was on TV trying to be Trump's labor secretary. I wrote this before the election. This came out a couple days before the election. And for me, the tipping point was when Puzder said on what I call their national TV news, he supports the GOP candidate on policy and doesn't involve himself in tabloid fodder. I'm sorry, this wasn't tabloid fodder. These were court documents. This was from brave women who actually tried to stand up to this billionaire boys club. And I just wanted to bring that up because you mentioned labor secretary. Puzder was trying to be labor secretary before a scandal came out that he had allegedly physically abused a previous spouse. Again, that's probably why he ended up not becoming it. So who became it? The guy who covered up for Epstein in Florida. So you guys kind of see like how this works, as Hi-Fi might say, see how it works.
So actually, Craig gave us an excellent example of that because he compared the coverage of Whitewater to, here's Craig.
Well, hold on one second, Hi-Fi. Pause.
LexisNexis search on Whitewater in the New York Times, and it seemed the Times had done over 2,000 stories on the Whitewater scandal. Yeah. And if anyone remembers what that was, it really wasn't anything.
Yeah.
Dugan actually showed me a tape, but it was very, I don't know what to make of it. It was very grainy. It was black and white. It suggested technology from the 90s, maybe. He said it was a media executive who made a high salary, but I never heard of him. I mean, and there are many people in that category. But it gives you an idea of how he might be using that. Whether that's going on or not, I don't know. That's as far as I've been able to get. It's certainly possible. I mean, you have Leon Black paid, I think it was paid Epstein, I think $158 million or something, supposedly for tax advice. Well, what do you pay your accountant?
Mic drop.
$158 million for tax advice.
What do you pay your accountant?
I mean, no, but seriously, what sort of tax bill could you possibly have that would justify 150 billion.
You know, Jim, billionaires.
It's ridiculous. These money laundering. That's all that fucking is.
Compromat.
Well, look, yes, there's zero. I mean, Epstein was absolutely an intelligence gathering operation, right? Yeah. I mean, he was gathering it for himself primarily, to start. But there's zero chance that he wasn't selling that shit to foreign governments, that he wasn't, intentionally trying to pull people in to get compromise on them.
Remember where Epstein got his start. Bill Barr's father gave him a job at a high school teaching English. So,
and then the Victoria's Secrets guy.
So he was completely unqualified for that job, and it gave him access to underage girls. And yes, Donald Barr was the head of a girls' school, and gave him that job. It's all the same, man. There really is a very, very dark and ugly strain of deviance in a lot of these people.
Well,
I've been saying that for years.
So
Peter Giles told us the KGB looks for sexual deviants.
The misfit.
And guess what? There's a lot of them.
Well, also the whole reason that Craig. So first of all, we didn't frame Craig Unger properly. Episode 102, Unseen Forces. Craig Unger has been showing the deceit of the GOP at the highest levels going back decades. His books are the upcoming Den of Spies, which you can pre-order now. Comes out. He's going to be his October surprise. He has House of Trump, House of Putin, American Compromat, which you must read now if you haven't read it already. Also House of Saud, House of Bush, and he's done many other important reports and books, as I said, indicating GOP's decades of deceit. It's very important as we talk about this that we realize, the billionaires are different from me and you. The rich really are different from me and you. And I knew the former CEO of Carl's Jr., Andy Puzder, because I used to host a business series. So I had a lot of CEOs in my virtual Rolodex. And when I knew Andy was trying to be Trump's labor secretary, I warned him. I'm like, get away from him. He will destroy you. He destroys everybody in his path. And what did Andy do? He blocked me. Instead of saying you've got one friend in the media who actually cares about your future, because I didn't know about the other stuff at that point, and he just blocked me. And guess what happened? Guess what happened? Homegirl was right,
I mean, CEOs notoriously, like a lot of other people, tend to be psychopaths, and many of them are very good at what they do, and some of them are, can be okay. But unfortunately, psychopathy, sociopathy, these mental conditions that make human beings not worthwhile to you, that is an advantage in business, and people like that tend to rise. It's I think one of the fundamental sort of flaws in our current system. And it's the part of the reason why our inequality is so out of whack, and all these oligarchs are trying to, narratively assassinate our candidate. I want to be respectful of the 5-8, which is on after us.
Oh shit! Okay, yeah, we have one more clip. We have one more Unger clip, and I do want to say that Andy did give me a coupon to try a breakfast sandwich at Carl's Jr. I don't eat fast food. But I remember one day I was hungry, 12 years ago or something. And I'm like, oh, I got this coupon. It was very salty. I'm very sensitive to
Okay.
I'll just an Unger clip, and then I got something to go out on.
Okay.
Carl's Jr., I'm sorry.
An awful lot like the United Confederate States of America. And they are. And I think what's happened since Trump is what we have now is sort of the Confederacy 2.0.
In a next Trump presidency, are those of us who do investigative reporting, are we safe?
It's called a softball. No, I think it's just petrifying. I mean, if you look at Project 2025, this is a recipe for the end of democracy. It is as simple as that. I spent years not using the word fascist, and now I have to use it occasionally, and this is the brink. And one of my best friends is German, and he says it's 1933 in Germany. This is where we are.
Yeah, that's where we are. So,
Achtung, baby.
Yeah, I'm gonna let some young black voices take us out this week because they're important voices and you need to listen to them.
Wonderful.
Project 2025. What is it? Who wrote it? Where did it come from? The entire far-right blueprint is 920 pages and 30 chapters. You're not going to read all that. I don't expect you to. And if you haven't even heard of Project 2025, that's okay too. But you do need to know what's in it because it's pretty terrifying. Think a playbook for Handmaid's Tale, essentially turning the US into Gilead. I've looked for some good, easy explanations of Project 2025, and there really aren't that many. This is going to be the most comprehensive and simple explanation of 2025 that you're going to get. So background, Project 2025 dates back to 1973. That's when the Heritage Foundation, a very powerful conservative think tank based in Washington, D.C., was founded. They are the writers and the architects of Project 2025. And their main mission and goal is to move America to a more far-right Christian nationalist state. They originally came to prominence when they wrote their first manifesto in 1981 titled A Mandate for Leadership. And get this, those very same policies were the ones that were used and implemented in the Reagan administration. Seriously, around 60% of the 2,000 proposals written in the manifesto were implemented by Reagan. So now they're back again with a new edition, and this new edition is known as Project 2025. And it's supposed to provide guidance for the Don or whoever becomes the next Republican president. And these 900 pages and 30 chapters are written by professors, doctors, scientists, lawyers, scholars on each subject. And they've divided Project 2025 into 4 main pillars. The first is policy, which is this big book. The second is personnel. They're creating this huge conservative database, think LinkedIn, but for DJT loyalists. The third pillar is training. They set up this online educational system called the Presidential Administration Academy, where they teach their views and ideology in a course. And the fourth is called Playbook, which is an action game designed for how they're going to get everything done. Now let's get into some of the very concerning things on their wish list for DJT's second term. Starting off strong on pages 450 to 503, they're calling for a complete ban on abortions. Not very shocking. Page 319, they're saying the Department of Education should be eliminated. And in addition to calling for its elimination, they state that any school that requires a vaccine or mask mandate will not receive federal funding. Page 482, eliminate the Head Start program. Page 675, calling for the elimination of NOAA and the National Weather Service. Because these organizations, and I quote, have become one of the main drivers of climate change alarm industry and as such is harmful to the future U.S. prosperity. Page 133, they call for the complete dismantling of the Department of Homeland Security. In addition, they argue for the elimination of the FBI along with the Department of Justice. Page 5, they call for a complete ban on corn, writing that corn should be outlawed, the people who produce and distribute it should be imprisoned, and anyone else who participates or facilitates it should be registered. Page 104, reverse policies that allow transgender individuals to serve in the military. Gender dysmorphia is incompatible with the demands of the military service, and the use of public monies for transgender surgeries or to facilitate abortion for service members should be ended. And there's so much more, including the possibility of ending birthright citizenship, banning African American and gender studies in all levels of education, calling for an ending of any DEI programs, getting rid of gay marriage, ending the Affordable Care Act, and it also calls for the mass deportation of immigrants and proposes a plan to round up illegal migrants and lock them up and put them in camps. But perhaps one of the most troubling and well thought out plans is the move to reclassify federal workers under what is known as Schedule F. Now, I'm going to get a little HR heavy, but please stick with me because it's so important. Now, there are 2 types of federal employees. The first group are merit-based workers. These are career positions. These people have earned them through going to school, getting work experience. They're either considered experts or they could be a part of the support staff. These people are hired because they know their stuff. Think an engineer at NASA or a scientist at the FDA. and their federal jobs have protections. Now, the other class are at-will or appointed workers. These employees tend to serve at the pleasure of the president or the administration, which basically means they can be fired or replaced at any time. To put it all in context, there are about 2 million of the first class of merit-based employees, and only about 4,000 political appointed ones. Under this new plan of Schedule F, they'd reclassify a bunch of the regular civil servants into political appointees. That way the Don can replace them with loyalists. Now, how does replacing all of these people help him carry out his plan? Let's do an example. Under Schedule F, DJT could take a scientist at the FDA, fire him, and then replace him with, let's say, a scientist who wouldn't give clearance to birth control or the abortion pill, therefore making it illegal and inaccessible without having to go through the courts, without having to go through Congress. By the way, they specifically lay this out in the plan in the 900 pages. Now, remember what I said about the whole conservative LinkedIn? That's the database they're going to use to fill these positions.
And let's just go off of numbers, because if you're talking about, you understand, voters showed up during the primary when we didn't have to show solidarity with our fucking president. What part did you not understand? Anytime you show disloyalty or you distance yourself from the president, you lose. Ask Tim Ryan how that worked out for him. Ask Sherry Beasley how that worked out for her. Where are they at? Don't be fucking stupid. Voters will show you, and you will fuck around, and you will find out that the president will still be the fucking president after the fucking election, because we're going to vote for him. But we may not vote for your ass if you show disloyalty to our fucking president. You might lose your seat. You might lose yours. But Biden's not going to lose his. And let's just go off of numbers. Because if you're talking about a fucking debate, a fuck-ass damn debate, Hillary won 3 of her fucking debates and lost the fucking election. Debates don't mean shit. And since the debate, since we're just going off of numbers alone, Joe Biden has narrowed the fucking gap in swing states that we need in order to win the fucking presidency. You keep distancing yourself. Why? And since we're just talking about just numbers again, just numbers, Joe Biden is sitting on $120 million damn dollars that's non-transferable. So why the fuck will we be able to replace somebody within 4 months when they will have no fucking ground game? None. They'll be starting from fucking scratch. How smart does that sound? How bad do you motherfucking Democrats want to fucking lose?